Hey y'all, I'm Daniel and this is Deacon Outdoors. Hey guys, welcome back. Had a little time since my last video, and I had mentioned that I was going to take my 7mm 08 rifle out and get some baseline information to start with. And I drove 2 hours to shoot and realized I left my chronograph at home, and I left the memory card for my camera at home. So needless to say, I wasn't able to get any footage, nor did I really want to after not only leaving those two, but I got the bore sighter stuck in my chamber, and it was not a pleasant day of shooting, so therefore there was no video. Second thing that I was supposed to do was announce the winners for my hat giveaway, and I'm actually giving away two, and those are going to be going to the office, DAH office, I think that's your username, and Kasdan Ammons. And just email me at Deacon, I think it's Deacon underscore, I can't even remember my own email address. DeaconOutdoors25@gmail.com. There it is. So just shoot me an email with your shipping address and I'll get those mailed out, and hope you enjoy them. I really appreciate y'all taking time out of your day to spend with me as I grow this. And we'll see down the road. I may do another hat giveaway or something like that. But anyway, thank you, appreciate it, and just spread the word if you like what I'm doing and it's information that helps. Then just subscribe to the channel and follow along, and hopefully I can pass along some good information. So on to the load development side of my series. So I went ahead and started reloading for the rifle as it's set up right now, and went to get a baseline. So I'm going to have a couple more trips. I didn't get any footage of the shooting today because honestly, that part of it has no bearing on what information I'm going to share with you from today. The target and the data and everything like that's the most important part from my day-to-day. So I picked up some 150 grain Sierra Game King, which is a tipped boat tail hollow point. It's more of a hunting bullet than it is a match bullet. The BCs are a little bit lower on these rounds compared to the Hornady ELD-Ms, which is okay. I can load develop with these just like I can anything else, because you're tuning it to your gun. And I'm going to stick with this throughout the whole build, and the only thing that I'm going to change is the different characteristics of the loading. So the first thing I did was I took a dummy cartridge, had the primer out, and put a bullet in it to find out where the lands are in the chamber, so I could start working on that along with my load development. So I'm playing around with that before I start actually changing the powder weights. So what I did on making this, and all it is just a deprimed round that I put in the chamber, extended out pretty far, obviously, because it had to be able to touch the lands and then push in. So what I did was I have a metal rod that will fit into the primer pocket in through the flash hole, and I put it in the chamber, gently closed the bolt on it to get it pushed down into the brass. And then I took the rod, took the bolt out, took the rod, put it in there, and just made sure that the bullet was pushed out far enough to touch the lands. Then I took it out and used the comparator on it to find out what my measurement was, and it was like a 2.162 from the rim to the ogive. So that gave me the distance to start with for my seating depth. So the first batch that I loaded up 21 rounds for 3-shot groups of different charge weights. Well, I loaded 42 through 45 on the grains, and I seeded the bullet depth 10 thousandths from the lands, because I wanted to start there and work my way back from that. The overall length, according to load data, is a 2.80, and I'm running 2.845 on this first batch. That's where the lands landed, and then 10 thousandths off of that. So I'm going to work my way back. The next rounds I'll load up 20 thousandths jump, and then 30 thousandths. But I'm still going to do just the half grain intervals until I see where that's going to land and go from there. And I can tell you the first groups have not been very impressive. So what I got today, I started out with the 42s. Now, mind you, the first group is down here because when I went to the range, I had to sight the Athlon in on that gun, and I used 139 grain whitetail hunter Hornadies. So jumping up to 150s, slowed it down. So my first group hit here before I adjusted the elevation. But so the group size, none of the groups really grouped very well other than this one. And then I jump over here on the 40, what is that? 44, 44 and a half, and 45. This started good, and then I don't know if I jerked the trigger on that one or not, but I'm still running the AccuTrigger in it. I haven't adjusted it, haven't touched it. That's going to be eventually before I do the trigger change. But really, none of these groups are very impressive to start with. Now, my load data, I was pretty happy with a couple of them. This one here was my best one. It had an SD of 1.6 and an extreme spread of 3.9. That is the most consistent I've had thus far, and the reason for that is I went to a scale that measures in hundredths of a grain, and then I also had this set that's an SD of 2.32, an extreme spread of 5.6. So I can get it there, but I'm still learning all of that as well. So hopefully I get that all dialed in. And once we figure out the load that I'm going to be using, I'm going to stick with that throughout the whole build for the rifle, even into the match barrel when I get it. And that way there's no question, but because I'm using the same components, the same powder, all I'm changing is the charge weight and the seating depth. That's the only two factors. And then I'll start changing the gun once we get a load figured out for this thing. So the cool thing about it was getting the lands figured out so I could start working on the jump and see. I know I've read over several forums that they loaded 708 and they were hitting around 30 thousandths jump. So I'm kind of anxious to see where mine ends up, even though I'm still shooting the pencil barrel and the AccuTrigger just the way it was from the factory. I'm not going to adjust the trigger until we do get the load figured out, because I want to see how each thing affects the accuracy of this gun. So with that said, I actually, with the tools that I'm using to load with the micrometer die, it was, oh my gosh. Now that I've got it figured out, it follows true, because once I measured the overall length from it coming out of the chamber and set my depth on the micrometer die, and then I knew I wanted to go 10 thousandths, cranked it down 10 thousandths on the die, reseated the bullet a little bit more, and it nailed it. I mean, it went from 2.163 to 2.153 on the comparator. So I'm getting it pretty close to being as good as I can make it. So it's all, exciting to me, and I hope you all gain something out of me doing this. Like I said, this is the first video for the reloading series that's going to parallel the build series for the rifle when I do get started on that. So the series for the rifle is going to kind of be on hold just for a little bit till I get to the nitty-gritty of the loads and get that figured out, and then we'll jump over and start making changes on the rifle. So a few other things that I wanted to mention real quick coming up on the channel is I have my recurve that I'm working on getting dialed in. I'm going to have to order some different arrows for it. I did some tuning on it yesterday and checking the arrow flight, and I'm going to have to get a little bit heavier arrow for it and kind of get everything retuned, but that'll be coming up. And I do have this I pulled out of storage that I'm going to be going over in the near future. This is an 1851 Navy 36 caliber revolver muzzleloader, and there's a really cool story behind this and how I got it, and I'll tell you all about it whenever I finally get around to doing this. I've got to order some pieces for the cylinder. I don't have any of the percussion cap nipples for the cylinder, so I got to get some new ones there. But I'm going to be breaking this out and we'll do some videos with it, because this thing is a blast to shoot. And everybody at the range, whenever you break one of these out, will stop shooting to come and watch. I've seen it happen several times. So this will be coming. We'll definitely do some shooting videos with this. So be looking for that down the road. And I'm going to keep working on my my load data in the next couple weeks, get it dialed in. That way we can start working on the gun and start doing both videos series at the same time. And I believe that's all I've got. Other than that, thanks for watching. I hope you get a little bit of something out of this. Like I said, I'm trying to make sure I give some good information and what I see from my experience. And like I said, I just geek out on this stuff. So if you got any questions, by all means ask. And the office and Kasdan both, as soon as I get your shipping addresses, I'll get those hats in the mail to you. I appreciate y'all watching the channel, and I'll catch you on the next one.